Joining us, NBC News national security correspondent, senior national security correspondent Courtney Kube, and former NATO Supreme Allied Commander General Wesley Clark. So, Courtney, how is this going over within the Pentagon?
Well, I mean, this isn't the first time that the Pentagon has gone through this, right? Even just in the last few years. But I mean, the thing that seems to be getting the most attention here at the Pentagon is exactly what you mentioned. And that is that active duty troops, that's just under 2.1 million people all around the world serving in every different kind of job you can imagine, are not getting paid as of today, in addition to another 400,000 civilians who are working but also not getting paid today. So that's getting the majority of the attention. Now, you mentioned the National Guard. Why that's so critical right now is a number of these National Guard troops, including here in D.C., including the ones that are going down to begin their deployment in Memphis, they are being paid by federal money. That's known as Title 32, or federal active duty pay. They're not necessarily under the authority of the federal government, depending on the city, but they are being paid by the federal government. That means that they, too, are not being paid while they are undergoing these missions. Why that is particularly interesting today is Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Stephen Miller from the White House are all heading to Memphis to tout this new deployment, including federal law enforcement and these National Guard troops who are not going to be paid.
How is morale?
And I will say it's not just the Guard, by the way, and the active duty. There are a lot of other people, a lot of other individuals in uniform and not in uniform who are still coming to work despite this no pay.
How is morale, not just with the shutdown and the lack of pay, but with that speech yesterday? Have you heard anything?
So, I mean, only anecdotally, Katie, there were a couple of things that have really stood out to the people I've spoken with. Number one was President Trump's comment when he talked about sending military, specifically National Guard, into cities for training. That was one thing that caught a lot of people's attention. And then these new standards and these changes to sort of the culture in the military, that's gotten a lot of attention. And I think that the biggest thing I keep hearing about it is exactly when and how these policies will be implemented. Some of them, like the hazing, there's supposed to be a 30-day review of the ability to haze, and as the secretary put it, put your hands on new recruits. But it's not being implemented immediately, and that's a lot of the discussion that we're hearing amongst members of the military today. Exactly how will these things be implemented?
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well. General, I wonder how you received Pete Hegseth's speech yesterday.
Well, I thought a lot of it was sort of boiled over the rhetoric that we've been talking about in the military for decades. Lethality, war fighting, focus on the mission, more training and maintenance, less paperwork, all that. It was good. I liked it. It was a great performance in that respect. But when he talks about changing the standards, not following rules of engagement, just being out there killing, remember that the U.S. military overseas often has to conduct operations in the presence of civilian populations. You can't just kill willy-nilly. You have to have rules of engagement. They have to be followed and enforced. Otherwise, you're destroying the very effort you're making to resolve whatever the issue is that the government sent you in there for, whether it was Iraq and trying to get rid of the terrorists or whatever. Rules of engagement are important. So also, as far as hazing is concerned, a lot of armies did this. Before World War II, the Japanese army used to just beat the heck out of people. It produced a really obedient force. We can't do that, and we don't want to do that. The Russian army beats up its recruits. It's just a matter of ritual. We always believe that the best way to train is to have positive motivation, help each soldier and Marine be all he can be. So we want tough training. We want productive training. We want great units. A lot of this rhetoric that came out struck me as sort of culture war stuff. And we don't need culture war stuff in the United States military. What we need is good, solid training. We need great guidance from the President, the Secretary of Defense, and the policymakers. And our military is lethal. It will fight and win.
What was the message that you took away about women in the military? This idea that there needs to be a top male standard. Was there a diminished standard for women? I mean, did they let women, not fly planes as well as men? Was there a secondary standard to which women were not held to as high of a standard as men?
Well, not for most of these skills. We've had women fighter pilots, and when I was in Kosovo running that campaign in 1999, we had women fighter pilots, and they were excellent flying those F-15s. They had great hand-to-eye coordination. They had G tolerance. They knew their stuff. They were good. But yes, in the Army's revised physical fitness program, the Army Combat Fitness Test, there are different standards for different ages, different duty MOSs, and so forth. It's a very tough standard. It's for the combat soldier. It's really tough. Should we all be in great shape? Sure. Do we want fat generals and admirals? Absolutely not. Do we want good haircuts? Of course. But look, this force is a volunteer force. It's built on men and women. It's built on diversity. And the officer corps has to reflect that to some extent. And we've got to appreciate the men and women who volunteer to serve this country.
General Wesley Clark, always good to have you. Courtney Kube, you too.